welcome to another episode. I am your host, WIZE. I'm excited to speak to my guest. Let's just get it right onto the show. Welcome to the show, Falyn Morningstar.
Thank you so much for having me. Happy to be here. I have to say, the intro gave me goosebumps.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so you have a very unique story. Tell us, share a little bit about your personal journey and what led you to what you're doing now.
Yeah, I love the question. I feel like we could have a whole episode just on like the intro part, but to give a brief synopsis, really at age 26, and to give you a time frame, I'm 29 now. At 26, I was dealing with a lot of physical health symptoms. Not necessarily a diagnosis, but things like very poor sleep. I always felt tired. I could not recover after exercise. It would be 4 days, I would still be sore. I was experiencing hair loss more than my usual. There was body odor going on. I started to develop an irregular menstrual cycle. And it's not like all of these symptoms came up right then and there. They kind of progressed and intensified as time went on. And I actually saw my family physician, I saw my gynecologist, and neither one of those Western thinking practitioners helped me to find some answers of why I'm feeling so crappy. And at this point, I had zero education on what functional health really is. So thankfully, I had a friend that was going through some functional lab testing. So things like a food sensitivity, hormones, stool, and I'm like very data driven. Now there's parts of me that are more into the spirituality aspect of life, but very much in that masculine. I would love to experience like this as well because I think this could help me. And so I actually went through the same testing as what she did, and that led me to actually becoming a practitioner in that same certification of what had helped me, because I was like, this information is so transformative. I want to be able to continue to educate other people and try to help them, find those missing pieces in their health. So, from the lab tests, they really validated my concerns, all of the concerns I just mentioned. I'm like, hallelujah, because now we have some direction to heal these physical symptoms. So,
So
yeah.
can you explain to us what functional diagnostic nutrition is and how it's helped transform your understanding of health?
Yeah, would love to. So, Functional Diagnostic Nutrition is the company that I have a functional health certification in. And when I say functional health, that's really taking the body as an entire body. It's not necessarily just looking at our mental side and maybe we're seeing a psychologist or a psychotherapist. It's not just if we have digestive discomfort, we're going to see a gastroenterologist or, taking something for our stomach. This is a whole body approach. And really what us practitioners help other clients with is that holistic way of living. And we really teach on the 5 pillars that's called the DRESS protocol. So I feel like probably by the end of this episode, you'll very much remember this, but it stands for diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction, and supplementation. So that's how we coach our clients. But we also have this big, beautiful umbrella of functional lab tests to help us find out more of what's going on inside.
Because you hear number of times of people being dying, can being not being able to find out what their issues are, what they're being diagnosed with. How did this your experience with this make you want to help other people?
I think in large part, I felt like very alone. I felt like I'm not supposed to feel this way. There was this intuitive sense that I'm like, these doctors should know this, in my opinion. However, I think a lot of us put a lot of weight in doctors to help heal us. But I do think we have the responsibility for ourselves to find those answers and wherever they might be. So, following your intuition when you know like something doesn't feel right is really the best way to find those answers. And I think that once I felt validated, because a lot of people, they love seeing something on paper to say, yes, that really correlates with this symptom that I'm having. It helps the brain feel a little bit more safe to say, okay, now I know a little bit of a direction because the unknown can be very scary sometimes, especially when these symptoms are debilitating. You can't get out of bed, you can't actually function. You're trying to type this email and you keep misspelling words when you're rechecking it. And I think for me, the biggest thing was that validation of this is concrete and we have some direction to go to be able to heal.
Can you share some of the alternative and holistic approaches you use to help guide women on their journey?
Absolutely. So, with the first pillar, like just taking diet into account, diet is one of the largest things, lifestyle things that we can transform into what works for us. I don't necessarily teach on a specific diet. It's not like I follow keto or carnivore. It's not that. However, I do explain how food works in the body, how important protein is, even for our physical health, but also for our mental health. And we really incorporate what's called a food sensitivity test. So, depending on what the client presents as far as symptoms, a lot of times it is that chronic fatigue or bloating, some digestive distress, or even migraines, to be honest. When we go through the food sensitivity test, what's really cool is that it looks at 176 different foods and it's taking your own blood and explaining what foods you are sensitive to or not sensitive to. So there's a very clear green, yellow, and red category of you can eat these. These are a little bit cautionary. These you definitely want to stay away from because your immune system is very much reacting and causing inflammation in your system. So with the test, it's beautiful because it gives you direction on what works for you in your current state of health. Yeah.
And when you mean what works, it breaks down what foods
Yeah.
are
So
best used for you to help you diet and change your life, your lifestyle. Because what it really is a lifestyle change. You have to give up a lot of things that you know aren't good for you, and does this help you pinpoint what are the proper foods that you should be eating?
exactly. So, for example, when I was dealing with some bloating and a lot of the symptoms that I explained in the beginning, I had that food sensitivity test in front of me, and it was sharing a lot of the foods I was sensitive to, I was actually eating, which is very common. But broccoli was on there, um, green peppers, and things that we know to be healthy. However, for your current state of health, it's just reactive to your system. So when we have food sensitivities, we do have leaky gut. And to kind of give you, I know that a lot of us have probably heard the phrase before, leaky gut, and that's really essentially saying that your microbiome, your gut lining, is basically leaking. So particles that are supposed to stay in your gut are actually leaking out into your general blood circulation, and it's causing an inflammatory reaction. And so when we see those food sensitivities on the test, that's what it's sharing with us. There's a sensitivity in your immune system that is reacting with broccoli or chicken or whatever. So there are, like I said, 176, and it's looking at different proteins, dairy, beans, fruits, veggies. There's things like flavor enhancers or even things like ibuprofen and some chemicals that we might see. I think it's 93 or 94% accurate, but it really provides a beautiful direction for you to remove the yellow and the red foods for at least 90 days to allow your system to naturally heal. Because when we remove things that are kind of wreaking havoc on us, we have this beautiful innate ability to heal, but we just have to support it in the right way. And I found that this test is really, I know we're just talking about diet right now, but it's a really great way for you to know like what foods you should and shouldn't be eating.
Yeah. I, I've had I had a scare recently, so it's kind of w- kind of waking me up to, I need to change my diet. I really need to focus on eating certain foods, cutting out certain foods, and I'm learning that now. And so it's not easy. It's not easy, but if I'm serious about changing my health, it's something that I really need to focus on and really learn about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like, if when symptoms come up, and they always come up, it's kind of like that beautiful onion being peeled back of like, oh, here's something else we should look at. But like for me, when something comes up, it's like, okay, well, let's dive deeper into that. And we're always changing, like the food sensitivity test in 2023 is going to look different in 2024 because we are continuously evolving. Different stressors are impacting us. If we've removed the foods in 2023 and we're retesting later, it's like, okay, we've had some healing, because I even noticed with my own test, the grains category was actually fairly sensitive and reactive in my first test. And so I really removed those foods. I removed gluten for a while. In my second test, which was about a year and a half or 2 years later, that grains category was very much in the green, which shows me, oh, that's great. Like some healing has been done.
So that does that mean that you can eat some of those grains, or should
Yeah.
or should you just regulate on what you eat, how much of it you eat?
I would say if they're in the yellow or red, definitely removing those for at least 90 days and then slowly reintroducing them one by one just to see how it feels, not rushing that process of the reintroduction. But there are some cases that it will stay in the red or the yellow. Like for me, lamb, even though it tastes good to me and I don't feel like I have like that visceral, like bloating reaction, it's still consistently in both tests, I've had it in the red. So it can be cases like that where that's just not a food that works for you.
Oh no, it's I know I used to love broccoli. I still do, but it came to a point when I started eating it, it really was making discomfort for me in my stomach and everything. So I can't eat it.
Yeah.
And it was I you don't understand. I love eating broccoli, with broccoli and cheese, broccoli with my potato, and now I just can't. And I want to so bad, but I don't want to suffer the consequences of eating the broccoli. It's too much pain.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder if you would remove it for like 90 days and then attempt to reintroduce.
Yeah, I haven't eaten. I don't know when was the last time I ate broccoli. Like I'm afraid to try.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Sometimes, I'll have it's not like I purposely eat foods that I know I'm reactive to, but,
Yeah.
if after 90 days, I'll give it a try, or, like, maybe if I'm going out to a restaurant or something, I will maybe have, activated charcoal with me that helps bind and, absorb any sort of proteins that might aggravate my system. So I like to keep that on handy. So if you're gonna kinda shoot in the dark and try broccoli again, maybe have those activated charcoal capsules on hand.
All right. So something else you talked about is, how do you address um emotion healing and trauma recovery in your work with your clients?
So I will say, when I went through the FDN certification, and again, that's Functional Diagnostic Nutrition, in large part, it was very data driven. Certainly, the stress reduction pillar was one that it was recommended to start meditation. And that was pretty much the only recommend it, like journaling, sure, going for a walk, sure, that's great stress reduction techniques. But I felt like there wasn't really education on how to handle things in the emotional sense. Um, just different tools to help regulate your nervous system. Now, sure, everything that we do helps to regulate your nervous system, helps to bring it back in balance, but there was no specifics for me. So I felt like I lacked that for a little bit. And then the world of somatic experiencing came into my life, and there are leaders in this field. Peter Levine, even Dr. Stephen Porges, if you look either one of those up, they have great like short videos on how to do a somatic exercise of, if you're feeling overwhelmed or anxious. And, even working with coaches that kind of deal with the emotional side, I've had that experience now. And I want to say that the emotional side is just as important as the physical side. You can't have one without the other, because for a while I was asking myself the question, why don't I still feel like this bliss of what I think I should be feeling? And I was like, oh, there's the emotional side. It's not like I didn't know about it, but I didn't know about it in a way. And I think as I healed more of the physical body, I was able to have the capacity, my nervous system capacity, to open up a little bit by little bit the emotional side and the trauma side. So, um, for me, I think it's kind of the universe just saying, like, we need to heal these things first before we open this big can of stuff. And since then, I help teach clients how to actually, like, if they're feeling up and overwhelmed, whether they had a conflict with their partner or at work or whatever it is that they're feeling anxious about, we go over different tools that you can use at your disposal, what feels right, and actually have your system calm down into that parasympathetic, that rest and digest state. Because a lot of times, as we do this work and as we're healing, it's like you don't realize how much you were in that fight or flight, that sympathetic state, because you're just not aware of it, and you're just always on that you just always have that fear or that lurking, like you're always lurking, like what's coming next type of thing. And that's a stress response. Whenever we think something bad's going to happen, we're making chemicals in our body that have us in this stressed out state, that are burning through our hormones. And after years and years of doing that, you do get these physical symptoms, which that's what happened to me. So I think the emotional side is one that, and the physical side, sure, is one that you have to just continue to practice every day, because our society and this environment really gets us up, if you know what I mean. All of this stimulation is quite a lot. And the more that we can have those tools that I teach clients with, the more that we can regulate ourselves and actually show up authentically of how we actually want to be.
And that's one thing I realized, that being able to be your authentic self is key in your mental health and physical health, because now you get to just be you. You don't have to you don't have to go out and try to prove to everyone else who you are or who you truly want. And it's been great for me. This, for me, is kind of my therapy, being able to come and talk on my podcast and express the things that have gone on in my life, and being able to have these conversations. It's my form of therapy, and being able to listen to these amazing stories like your own, and see that we all go through these struggles in life. It's how we deal with them, and how we approach them, and look at them, that it's it's gonna, the way you react to it, it's gonna show you how you're gonna handle the rest of your life, because you could have easily given up, and said, I don't know what's going on with me, and the doctors don't know, and it would have been easy for you to just give up. But the fighter in you was like, no, there's something wrong with me. I'm gonna find out. And with you doing that now, you're helping people, helping people with similar struggles, and I commend you for that. That's an amazing thing you're doing, and that's why I got into what I'm doing, is because I wanted to help people get through whatever traumas and struggles that they've been through in their lives.
I love that. Yeah. There's this motto that always comes up for me is the heal together, rise together. And sure, we are all doing our individual work, but our individual work helps all of us heal and continue to rise. So I love that. And again, I love having these conversations too. And just thank you again for having me on here.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. We're not done yet. We
Oh,
still
I
got.
know. No, I'm just, I'll say it again and again, but I'm just saying.
So okay, so what? How do you help women reconnect with their inner power and develop a positive relationships within themselves?
Yeah, this one's big. Besides going through the 5 pillars, which are huge,
Yes.
when we're sleeping well, we're getting some movement in, that's fantastic, but I think for women, a lot of us have had, um, repressed emotions. I'm sure males as well, but speaking from the female side, it's like that loss of expression, like that throat chakra area. And what's interesting is that um, more women than men have thyroid issues. And isn't our thyroid this little beautiful butterfly of an organ over here, right where our throat chakra is? And so when we have trauma, or when this our family dynamic is showing us like, oh, just be a good girl, like, you know, put this dress on, smile pretty, and, you know, don't show anger. It's like oh, and as well, looking in the mirror, oh, I look so fat, blah, blah, blah. Having that passed down from generation to generation, like, of course, we're going to have low self esteem. We're going to feel that shame, or, even to throw in a little twist here to our pleasure centers, we'll call them, um, even having the family dynamic share with us, like, "Oh, no, like, don't do that," or, not really explaining how powerful, beautiful, and sacred this area is, and it's really like we develop this shame for that area, like, these are bad parts of us, and over time, like, yeah, we shut down, we disconnect. Throw on top of that using a contraceptive to stop birth, yeah, we're disconnected. And it's a shame because it's like, I remember my gynecologist saying, like, yeah, go ahead and, I don't remember hearing any side effects. However, when I used the birth control pill from 16 to 26, so 10 years, synthetic estrogen, fortified iron, it's minimizing my magnesium, my B vitamins for 10 years. And no one told me that. No one's telling anybody that except for people that have already been through it and be like, no, like maybe think about it this way a little bit more and then make a educated decision. So, by saying all these things, we are very much disconnected from our emotions and from our pleasure center. So, it's not like we can feel that joy and that bliss in life, which is such a shame. And I know for me, certainly as I'm preaching this work, I'm doing this work. No one is exempt from this. And, I just had an instance the other day where I felt this emotional trigger. And I think what's really beautiful about the work that I've been able to do just on myself, to give you an example, is that I was able to pause for a second, go to my room because I feel like my room is more of like a safe space. It's very grounding. Went in there, I was able to actually release the belief. And again, these are just memories in our mind. these are just your own perceptions and your own beliefs. It's not like they're real. It's not like that's the real you. It's just this emotion that you need to like just get out in some fashion. And so for me, it was screaming in my pillow. It was tears coming out. And I have found that over 2.5 years, I would say, I wasn't able to do that. 2 years, 2.5 years ago, I wasn't able to do that. I would call somebody because I would seek, like, I wasn't able to handle it myself because I didn't have the tools. I didn't know what to do. And now that I've continued this practice, and this is what I teach my clients to continue this practice, literally put these regulating techniques that I teach you into your phone. Do it in the morning, afternoon, and evening, or just once a day to start. And as you develop that habit, you'll see that it'll just come like, oh my gosh, I need to do some grounding right now. Like, let me pull out that exercise that I know. Because over time, your body will be like, we need to do this. Like, we need to get this out.
So with the way the times are now, are more your clients more remote based, or are you dealing more with personal interaction?
Right now, it is remote based. I think I would love to do some hybrid options. I do really value that in person contact, and but right now it is remote.
So would you ever consider probably having like a little conference where you get to invite a bunch of clients together
That'd
and
be
get them there?
awesome, like a retreat in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be super cool. I would love to do that. And I think, the more of us that can get together, I just love retreats and just the community aspect.
Mhm.
Um, so
I would
that
love to
would,
go speak. I would love to go speak at a retreat. It would be, I
yeah,
mean, it would be a great experience to spend the weekend and go speak at a retreat and talk about your experiences and stuff like that. To me, it would be a great experience. I love going to conferences and networking because that is one of the ways for me to grow and learn, because you meet so many different people. Like, honestly, since I've started my podcast and when we got shut down and everything switched more to remote, some of these interviews I would have never had had the pandemic not happened, because now we were forced to use technology, use tools like StreamYard, Zoom, and actually get to interact with people. I've interviewed people from all over the world, and I don't know I don't know if that would have happened had I not had the world shut down.
yeah, yeah, I love that. And that is the beauty of like technology. I know sometimes I have like such resistance to it, but I think in these circumstances, it's really cool to be able to communicate with people from anywhere. And I think, having that larger group or going to conferences or retreats or whatever and expanding yourself in that growth area, it's like, so is everybody that signed up for it.
Yeah,
And the energy that's brought to those events is like, it changes lives, because it's so powerful, because we're meant to be in connection with each other, and we are at distances. Like, certainly I'm connected to you, but I'm also connected to the neighbor, like, way down there, because we're all in it's so mind-blowing how much we are connected, even though sometimes we feel very alone.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I feel you. I definitely feel what you're saying. It's definitely been, like, last year was my first time where I got to attend. I attended Podfest last year. I attended it as well this year, but last year was my first conference for a podcaster, as a podcaster, and it was, oh my god, it was an amazing experience. The people that I got to kind of connect with, the relationships that I started, it was it was nothing but great energy, because you're surrounded by like-minded people who have a lot of the same interests, who are trying to do the same things that you're doing, or some of them are where you want to be at, and to be able to speak to them and pick their brains and ask questions and have this experience. it was like anybody who asked me, should I attend the conference or should I? Yes, those are some of the best things you can do for yourself as a person, because just the growth and the learning you're gonna get from the experience.
Yeah, I totally agree. Now you have me itching to sign up for something.
No, because I had a friend. I'm in a group chat, and a friend asked, should she attend a certain event coming up in August, and I was like, yeah, heck yeah, I recommend it to anyone that if you can go attend the conference, attend it. It's a great experience.
Hmm. When is it?
There's one coming up in August. Podcast movement. It's in Denver.
Okay.
Um, it's I haven't been able to attend one of those yet. That's one of my something on my checklist that I've definitely got to make happen. But I've attended Podfest the last 2 years, and it was great. It was an experience that I would highly recommend to anyone. So,
Awesome. Very cool.
all right. So okay, okay, so now it's time where you get the solo screen, you get to share upcoming projects, anything you wanna promote. It's this is your time right now.
Awesome. So there are 3 opportunities to share with you. The first one is actually it always happens biweekly. It's every second and fourth Wednesday of the month from 7 to 7:30 p.m. EST. This is actually a contribute what you can free live meditation on Zoom. I host these live meditations since the beginning of this year because I felt this pull to do it. I've been meditating for about 3 years now, and it's been so transformative to help get my mindset back on track, less anxious, more grounded, and feeling this state of peace, I would say. Peace and joy. So if you're interested in that, we can share the Zoom link. It's the same every 2 weeks, same time, same place, and the recordings of those are actually uploaded to my YouTube channel if you cannot make us live. The two other options are actually programs that I have that are all one on one. I found that people really want this one on one communication, this live interaction, not necessarily the group setting. So I really value that feedback, and that is how I run my programs. The first is dealing with it's called vacant to vital. So if you're feeling vacant, empty, distaste about yourself, whether that's physical or emotional, if you're feeling like some symptoms are coming up for you as far as your physical health or emotional health, that is the program for you because we go over a whole host of functional lab tests, actually 5 of them. And we work together for 12 sessions to really transition you into feeling that person that has energy, that vitality for life, and feels those pleasures of life. The second program is called Let's Start with Food. And that is what it is. You know, there's a functional lab test included that we discussed today, the food sensitivity test, and we are working together for 3 sessions. And this is again one on one, and you get direction on what specific foods that you need to eat to heal your physical self and your emotional self. You might be quite surprised by when you change your diet, how your emotional and your mental state change as well. So, those are the 3 opportunities that you can work with me. And to get more information about that, you can feel free to send me an email, which is at discover@falynmorningstar.com. Discover@falynmorningstar.com. You can also find me on Instagram, which is at Falyn Hunter Morningstar. Thank you. You're on mute.
Um, Everything will be put in the description, so definitely check out her website. Definitely go support her and take advantage of the program she has. So
So I will say there is not a website.
Oh,
Even
okay.
though I do have the domain, but the website is not up, so the best way to contact me would be
Is the
through
email.
the
Okay,
email.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
send her an email so
Yeah.
you can join her programs. Are you working on getting the website together?
I am, I had it up for a little while, and then I was like that was also when I was in the corporate
Okay.
life, so I was very busy over in that side, so it is on my list.
Uh, but thank you so much for being a guest. This has been great. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you again.
But don't leave just yet. Let me close out the show and we'll chat a little bit off the air. And again, it was a pleasure having you on. All right, so now it is time for shout outs. Big shout outs to my Real Wise fam, Poppy J, Brandy J. Shout out to my man Tony Mostello for coming through. Greatly appreciate it. Big shout out to my man Ben Selleriff III from the BS3 Network, which we air on Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Um, Big shout out to the boss lady Fina. Greatly appreciate you and love you, baby. Big shout out to my guests, Falyn Morningstar, for coming through and sharing her story. And as always, a big shout out to all the essential workers out there. God bless y'all. Be safe. You know how your boy Wise does it. Peace out.